How big should a combo counter be? Maybe this big. Maybe this big. Maybe it shouldn't even show up until the combo's finished. How about this big? Oh wait, sorry, I meant this. Yeah, I think we can all agree that this is a bit too large of a combo counter, but this seems to be the choice that Guilty Gear Strive has taken, and I have to question whether or not that's the best idea. But when I say question, I don't mean asking Arc System to explain, I mean, why did you push your brother down a flight of stairs, Arc System? I have a couple of problems with the UI of Strive. Admittedly, I should have voiced this last beta when there might have been some time to change it, but most of my complaints come down to a bizarre use of screen real estate. That's the amount of space that something takes up on the screen. It's certainly not something that we as players normally think about, but I'm sure developers think about it a lot. After all, video games are a visual medium, so much like how movies use screen space to not only get across the information of what's happening, but also add feel to what you're watching, games can do the same. This shot in the Garden of Words gives a lot of the screen towards this beam and poses the two characters between it to help emphasize the social barrier between the two of them. Halo 2 gives a lot of screen real estate to the Spartan laser to really emphasize gun. And it also helps to really sell the weight of the weapon, so when you fire it and it kicks what's basically the whole fucking screen, it feels great. On top of that, older console shooters had a lot of weapons that were huge to accommodate for the fact that CRTs came from reasonably sized to so small that you could think it was designed for a very small, friendly rat who just really liked early 2000 shooters. So if you really wanted to make sure that you were selling the power of something, regardless of what kind of monitor someone was playing on, you just make it really big. But as I'm sure you can tell, this comes with a pretty obvious trade-off, in that if there's someone unknowingly hiding behind my weapon, I can't bloody see them. That's probably why most PC shooters, where the player base is a bit more competitive and don't want to have any of that aesthetic prominence interrupt the systems, have smaller weapons so you can take in more of the systems rather than the aesthetics of it all. Here, where the audience is going to want to feel power, it gives more real estate to the weapon. Here, where the audience is going to want to know power, it gives more real estate to the outcome. All of this is to demonstrate what I think ArcSys was going for. They use a massive combo counter to really help sell a big combo, and give you a big old pat on the back for learning, yes, you do press the H key after the S key, here's your gold star. However, despite the best intentions, I still think this looks incredibly dumb. And so does the rest of the whole ass internet. There is no need for the combo counter to be this big, especially when you're going to make the whole UI look as clean and lifeless as it currently does, like it's just come out of the latest Apple conference. And even more so, when the thing that you're highlighting has zero gameplay implications. This is the big weapon model thing all over again, but unlike in that instance where it helps to sell a power, here I just feel patronized. 6 hits isn't even that large a combo, and it starts to take up almost a third of the screen, start to enter the double digits, and it almost takes up 50% of the monitor. I don't think I'd mind this that much if this were a game where the ridiculousness and the over-the-top nature of the combo counter was complemented by the rest of the visuals, but it's got style the same way that a vacuum has air. It's literally just like bold Arial font with the word written through the number. There are plenty of examples of combo counters done well. For the love of God, there's examples in the exact same series and improvements that they've made to it. Here's Guilty Gear Accent Core Plus R. Its combo counter is a bit drab and unimpressionable, but it's important. Because in Plus R, you're able to tech out of a combo, and while it doesn't tell you actively when you can tech out of a combo and just kind of expects you to be mashing, the combo counter tells you in retrospect whether or not you could or you couldn't. It even lets you know the exact hit that you could have teched out in between. Come Xrd, the combo counter now looks flashy and awesome, and it fits the color scheme. They also decided to make the combo counter go grey when a tech opportunity was missed or wasn't input on purpose, helping to add even more to the visual clarity of informing the player. It's absolutely amazing. And then you've got Strive, and the combo counter doesn't really hold a purpose system-wise, and it engulfs the screen like it's some kind of void. Pray that you never get combos in the hundreds. It might just start breaking the fourth wall and spill into the real world. And to me, this isn't even a good way to sell a combo. Combo counters like the ones found in Marvel vs. Capcom, or Killer Instinct, with an announcer that gets more excited the more that you're comboing, to me is a much better way of making you feel the impact and importance of a combo. On top of that, I think that sometimes a combo counter can give the player the wrong impression on what's really important, regardless of how big or flashy you really make it. I always felt like I was doing something wrong in Street Fighter 4 when I picked up all of them years ago, because Sakura was always doing double-digit combos that said incredible, and I was out here doing 3-hit combos that said nice try, but you got a D on your test. I don't think that having a combo counter that's going to start filling up the screen is going to do anything to help that. that, especially when combo length has no importance to the game aside from scaling, which isn't a concept that the kind of person who's entertained by this massive combo counter will care about. The combo counter getting bigger and giving it a lot of prevalence could have been a fun idea and could have been some really good visual feedback to sell a larger combo, but it's way overemphasized here, to the point where it's a detriment to larger moments by completely ridding the background of its detail and drawing attention to the number at the bottom rather than the damage done at the top. The part that I think frustrates me the most is that I think that there's moments in Strive when they really do have good use of screen real estate, like on grounded counter hits. Now, I understand why this is quite divisive for a lot of Guilty Gear players since it breaks down the pace of the match with the slowdown, which I also don't like. But I think that what it does with the camera is still quite good for the game. By pulling in the camera and giving the characters more prevalence, you help to really emphasize that counter hit. And unlike making the combo counter big, a counter hit can have really impactful gameplay implications because of counter hit specific combos. Since Strive is new, we don't really know what the variations on counter hit combos are going to be, but thankfully Tekken 7 does the exact same thing. Let's say I'm throwing out forward 3 randomly. Perhaps I'm fishing for a counter hit specifically, but my recognition time isn't the greatest for whatever reason. Maybe it's a new combo, maybe I'm thinking about the unfamiliarity of my opponent's character. There's a lot of potential reasons. If the game didn't do anything to get my attention and recognize that big counter hit, I might miss big combo opportunities. And whilst that does admittedly have its own competitive benefits, like potentially increasing skill expression, I don't think that let me know I've got a counter hit is a point where many people would be upset. So Tekken 7 pulls in the screen and positions the characters very prominently in the frame to basically snap its fingers and go, hey dickhead, you remember that combo you were learning? Yeah, now would be a good time to use it. On top of that, even if you don't know how to use a counter hit combo in this scenario, it helps to make you feel the impact and strength of the hit without having to scream damage numbers. And the new Guilty Gear does that too, so good job Guilty Gear, kind of. But also, why is the risk gauge so small when it's what causes them counter hits? I'm sure all of the Guilty Gear heads have already noticed this little bar and identified it as risk, but have you ever really looked at it mid-match in Strive? I think this bar has always been a problem in Gear, to be completely honest, more from a it's very unclear as to what this bar is standpoint, but at least in Rev 1 they still did a better job of displaying it. A lot of screen space, it's very thick, it's still not always clear as to what the bar is filling up towards. Strive comes along and it gives you this paper thin bar that nobody will ever notice unless they're specifically looking for it, and even then it's still impossible to see. If someone needs to quickly glance over to the bar that can be pretty important, making it small to this degree makes it so much harder to read that it might as well not be there in the first place. At least it's not as bad as Plus R, where not only is it small but it's also really confusing to read. But just because it's not as bad as the older brother in the series doesn't mean that it's good. And it's not even stylized. I honestly don't know how this is the look that they ended up landing on, but there's a difference between clean and uniform and whatever the fuck is going on here. This looks like a mobile game Crash Bandicoot health bar. What happened to when you started to wing off the start of the health bar so whenever someone took damage, you really saw that shit? You know, when you use screen real estate in the UI really well. Why is everything this super slim bar? Where'd the machinery-inspired visuals go? This needs to be smaller, this needs to be bigger. We can all agree on that. But even if any of that was done, it wouldn't help with the fact that the UI of Strive is bland and plain. I'm really hoping that this gets changed before release, but I think that it's probably something that doesn't really have room to change, seeing as we're so close to the release date. Hopefully in whatever Revelator style upgrade package they're planning, this will get fixed, though it is a little bit worrying how this managed to get through the first version of the game. I'm still pretty excited for Strive, but I'd be lying if the dull UI doesn't put a bad taste in my mouth. And the scary prospect of her coming back. Oh my god.